Party people, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, an RPG podcast built for two. I am your host, as always, Jeff Stormer. This week I am joined by filmmaker Marx Pyle for a playtest of Shadow of the Century by Evil Hat Studios. Shadow of the Century is the sequel to Evil Hat's legendary Spirit of the Century. It moves the action from two-fisted pulp heroes of the 1930s to damaged new wave action heroes of the 1980s. I love this game, guys. I love it so much, and I cannot wait until it comes out proper so I can spend, actual money on it. It is just dripping with 80s charm and flavor, and it's 80s action movies in particular are a genre that's extremely close to my heart. That whole new wave genre is just... I really like this game. A link to where you can find more about the game can be found in the show notes. Unlike our previous Shadow of the Century playtest, this one includes what the game very cleverly calls a pitch session, which is equal parts character and world creation. We lay out what our movie's about, we pick a character, we pick plots and subplots. I think it's really interesting and valuable to hear, particularly for a playtest. But if character creation isn't exactly your jam, skip ahead to about 2025. I don't think you'd miss anything by skipping it. Interested in coming onto the show? Shoot me an email at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. I am always looking for cool new people to play cool new games with. And with all that out of the way, let's throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me.
Thanks, future me. This week, my guest is Marx Pyle. Marx, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
So at the top of the show, what we like to do is introduce yourself to the audience, talk a little bit about what you've got going on.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I'm the author of the book Television on the Wild Wild Web, How to Blaze Your Own Trail. It's all about how to create your own web series, and also talks about the history of web series. So that book's out, and I'm also an indie filmmaker. I'm working on various projects. And I also have a podcast. I'm a co-host of the podcast Genretainment, where we interview guests every week.
Neat, awesome. So, we like to play games on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So, this week... So this week, we are playing the playtest for Evil Hat's new game. It's called Shadows of the Century, and I'm very excited about it. So, we featured one of the playtests previously on the show. We just, it should have been, unless I'm mistaken, it should be last week's episode. I'm recording this, and this is in the future. So it should be last week's episode. So, we've kind of covered some of the general gameplay mechanics last week. This week I'm really excited because we're going to be featuring, what the game calls the pitch session, and character creation, which was all done, offline previously. So you ready to dive in?
I am.
Cool. So, big picture, like I said, we're going to start with what's called a pitch session. Mm-hmm. The big picture of Shadow of the Century is that it is essentially a game about 80s action movie and TV heroes fighting sort of monolithic authority figure villains. So it's very steeped in that sort of 80s punk rock, new wave mythology. So the way that the pitch session works is, in thinking about it like a movie, we're going to sort of come up with the general issues that we're going to deal with, come up with your character idea, and just sort of figure out the tone that we're going for.
Okay.
And so you had mentioned to me a character idea that I was very excited about. So
Okay.
Why don't you reiterate what that is so we can sort of dive in from there?
Yeah, so I was thinking about the 80s, and a couple of different things that I enjoy from the 80s is MacGyver.
Of course.
And then also martial art movies, any one of them, just about.
Right.
So I thought, let's combine the two. Let's make a character that's like MacGyver, but he's also like a martial artist or a ninja.
Right, which is awesome. I'm super excited about that. So, that kind of tells us the kind of story that we want to tell. So, going through the pitch session, the first thing that we want to decide is the format, which, because this is going to be a one-shot game, we're going to treat it as a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, sort of the big ideas there are, go big or go home. This is it. There's no next episode, so it's kind of all on the table.
Okay.
The next question I have for you is, in deciding how gonzo we want the game to be. How crazy, if there's going to be magic, science fiction, that kind of stuff. How grounded or not grounded would you like it to be? Kind of on a scale of 1 to 4. 1 being just like action movie, and 4 being straight up comic book nonsense.
Let's make it. It'd be nice to have a little bit of ninja magic and the like mixed in. Right. So let's add a little bit of gonzo in there, but let's not go full blown comic book.
So we'll go 2. Level 2 is it's magic.
That sounds good.
The naming mechanics in this game are fantastic. So it's it's magic, and it's that there's sometimes magic shows up, sometimes these things go like crazy, but in general it's going to just be the world as we know it, and then maybe like a gremlin shows up at the end.
Yeah, like Kung Fu Legend continues.
Yeah, exactly. Good to know that we're on the same page. So now we're going to start building your character, and also the story that your character is going to run into. So, taking the idea of MacGyver as this sort of, MacGyver being the classic scientist spy, the guy that is called in by the organization that he works for to defuse a bomb, because it's always a bomb, because it's MacGyver and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
What do you think that your martial arts MacGyver deals with?
I think he's going to deal with. I think he could deal with anything that's semi supernatural or martial artsy or weird sciencey.
Okay, I think that's fantastic. I'm thinking and let me know if you're on a different page, but I'm thinking I'm kind of leaning towards taking taking also a cue from, it's not quite the same time period, but almost like an Indiana Jones, like ancient forbidden artifacts, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like an 80s Indiana Jones.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're on the same page. So so something to that effect is going to be the big issue. So there's going to be a big issue, which is just the actual plot of the movie. The example given is that terrorists have taken Yakitori Plaza. And then there's a subplot issue, which in the Die Hard example would be, solving his marriage.
Okay.
So now that you've got an idea of who the character, at least the big picture of the character, let me ask you. So, your martial arts MacGyver is gonna steal a dangerous artifact before it falls into the wrong hands.
Okay.
But they've also got to do X.
Okay.
What do you think X is?
They've also got to do X. Is it a personal goal or a mission goal?
It's a smaller thing, something tangential to the central plot, but something that that is also. So I think it's probably going to be something a little more personal, and probably something that is not world threatening, not like the thrust of the story, but something that's going to nag and hopefully get resolved by story's end.
So you said he's having marital problems, right?
Well, that was just the example that I used. If that's the one you want to run, I used that just because it's the thing that I remember from Die Hard. But if that's what you want to run with, we can run with that. Or if you want something else,
well, let's run with. Let's have a love interest of some sort, and let's say she's caught in the middle of it. They both had a fight, and then somehow her job has gotten her in the middle of whatever this scenario is.
Okay. Yeah. So he's got to steal the artifact and rescue his loved one. That's perfect.
And MacGyver always had lots of love interests. I don't know.
He did.
I got it wrong.
He did.
It's a hair.
A little bit. That's that mullet. Ladies can't resist the mullet.
Yep.
Yeah. So now that we've got the movie set up, now we get into the meat of the character. So this is where we define our aspects. Aspects in Fate games are backgrounds, driving plot points, etc. They're sort of the big things. The way that they work in the game is that they can help you or hinder you depending on the situation. If they hinder you now, then you can use them later to do cool stuff. Boost your rolls, re-roll if you do badly, or introduce a cool plot element.
Okay.
I feel like we've got a good idea. The first one we're going to come up with is the high concept, which I think we've already sort of laid out. So, if you want to just write down,
is that his occupation-y type thing?
Yeah,
MacGyver, Ninja MacGyver, or is it...
Yeah, that's basically Ninja MacGyver.
Yeah.
If there's another, so like Kung Fu Action Scientist.
Okay.
That's going to be, and then that's the way that's going to work is in play, you have a certain number of fate points. You can spend one of those at any point to do something cool that ties into that. So if you're going to do a crazy martial arts stunt, or build a fire extinguisher out of a paperclip and some shaving cream, you could spend a fate point and say, well, I'm a Kung Fu Action Scientist, so I can build my flamethrower out of a shaving cream and a paperclip.
Sounds good.
But then the other side of that is, if I suddenly decide that I can give you a fate point and say, well, I think that because you're a Kung Fu Action Scientist, I think that maybe you've got like a Kung Fu rival. And then in that scene, I can be like, well, then your Kung Fu rival is there, and now you're having a stare down. So it's something bad that can also like complicate your life. And that's how you get the points to do cool things later.
All right, sounds good.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I played Mutants and Masterminds before, so it sounds similar.
Yeah, they have a similar Benny mechanic, yeah. So the next thing we're going to come up with is your trouble.
Okay.
You've got a problem, and this is separate from from your rescuing your loved one. What's the thing that gets your character into trouble?
So I was thinking wherever he went and traveled to learn his martial art skills, sort of like a la Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe in a way, his clan got taken over by some bad guys, and now it's a bad guy clan. That's why he left, and they want to get revenge against him.
All right, yeah, that's great. So he's got a blood feud.
Yeah.
So let's write down blood feud, and then anytime I can come up with a way that ties into the plot, I can offer you a fate point, and it just causes some trouble.
All right, sounds good.
So the next aspect that you'll come up with. And I think this will be the last one that we'll come up with. They suggest 2 more, but we can come up with those either in play or if we feel like doing it, just if you want to get a clearer idea of the character, but it's really your call. The last one is, what's your character's call to action? What's the thing that drives him to fight the good fight?
What does drive him to fight the good fight? So there's supernatural stuff in this world, right? So
yeah.
So what if, whenever he trained and learned this martial arts stuff, that he learned that there are mystical relics out there that can be used for good or evil, and that's why he took this job on, because he hopes to get them all out of the hands of potentially bad guys.
That's perfect. So we can boil that down to just saying something like Relic Hunter.
Yep, sounds good.
And then that's a perfect call to action. So then anytime you want to say like, oh, of course I know about this. Ask this thing, you can give me a fate point and say, well, I'm a relic hunter, so of course I know about X. Or, of course I know how to trigger this magical device.
That'll be useful. And plays up the Indiana Jones angle.
Yeah, exactly. The next phase is cast and villains, but I think that we'll define that in play. That's how we did it last time, and I think that worked really well. The way that works is when an NPC comes up, you and I will just go back and forth of like, well, I think that they have this trait. Like, I think that they are really nervous, and I would say that, and then you could say like, well, I think that they are a habitual liar. And we'll do that like twice, so we'll come up with like 3 or 4 little things about a character.
Okay.
Just as we go, and then that way we get some really interesting NPCs out of it.
That's cool. It's like cooperative storytelling or...
Yeah. So now you're going to pick out the roles that your character sort of fills, sort of the archetypal things that your character's good at.
Okay.
And we sort of discussed this a little bit.
So I looked at these, I thought maybe a ninja would be good.
Ninja's very good.
And then probably inventor to get that gadgetarian and duct tape stunt. That's a very MacGyver.
That's classic MacGyver.
And let's see here. So now I can go one of 2 ways. I was thinking either getting a little more brawling if I want to fight more, or if I want to be a little more MacGyver-y, I could do saboteur.
See, if I can make a suggestion, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think between the 2, I think the saboteur feels more. I guess I think if you want to go for MacGyver, I think the saboteur is better. But if you want to go more Indiana Jones, it's the brawler. So I think that's really the decision that I think it comes down to, is sort of the tone that you want.
I think let's do saboteur. It's something a little different.
That's what I was leaning. That's what I was thinking. I think that it's truer to the character that you had in mind, as I think to do the Saboteur.
Okay.
So, for each of those, you'll see on the page it has 4 skills listed.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll just real quick mark down the 4 skills for each of those, and if they're mentioned in more than one roll, it'll bump up from a +1 to a +2. So those are the skills that you get initial bonuses in.
And so it's so every one of these gives me like a +1, right? And then
yeah, and if a skill is mentioned more than once, like just flipping through them, I see that stealth is mentioned on a few of them. So you'll get that bumps it up to a +2.
All right. So it looks like I have a +2 in knowledge, gadgeteering, and stealth, and then everything else should be +1, I think. Well, now with skills, is that it, or based on the Gonzo level, do I get additional skills?
Yeah, you get a few additional skills. You get 10 points of additional skills.
Okay.
You can bump anything up to a +5, but you can actually spend on any skills that you want, including ones that are not just for your rolls.
What's resources?
Resources is how wealthy your character is. So if you want to use money to get out of a problem, or if you want to say, like, I have this equipment stashed somewhere, that's resources. It's just an abstract way of showing off, like, the wealth that your character has and what they can do with it.
What about insight?
Insight is, I want to say insight. Let me look it up right quick, because I want to say it's your ability to.
Okay, I think I found it. Page 37. Intuition and instinct.
Oh yeah. So it's your gut hunches.
Yeah, it's like empathy and notice skills blended together. Okay. So it'd be like spot checks. Well, I don't know. Awareness might be that too, but
it's like it's equally your ability to notice little things on people, but also to be able to read someone and tell that they're lying to you, or pick up on someone has hidden something somewhere and sort of get an idea of where it is.
So I guess like awareness is more about your environment, whereas insight, like noticing stuff in your environment, and insight's more about people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the vibe I get.
That's cool. All right, so I got 10 points, so I do feel like I need to put at least something to insight, maybe just 1 point, perhaps.
Okay.
And then gadgeteering should be really up there, so let's put 3 more points in that.
All right, and that's going to put it up to 5.
All right, and then I would say, so what's, like, burglary is, I kind of guess what that is, but...
That's burglary stuff. Stealing, lockpicking, disabling devices. All your classic D&D thief stuff.
Okay. Alright, so since I'm not going to always fight head on, let's get some stealth in there. Let's make that a 5.
Okay.
So that's 7 points used up so far, so I have 3 more. And why don't I use 3 more in... I'm supposed to be martial arts, so I need at least 1 more point in fight. So let's put 1 point each in awareness, fight, and burglary.
And then the last piece of the puzzle. The last 2 pieces. There's 2 pieces left of the puzzle.
Okay.
You get 3 stunts.
Alrighty.
From any of those rolls that you chose.
Okay, so
you pick 3 stunts total. You can choose from any of the ones that you chose a thing for.
So let's get and duct tape, where I can combine like up to 3 or more things, mundane things, to do MacGyver-y things. Ninja from the shadows would be good, just knock out some people occasionally.
From the shadows, for the listeners at home, when you're in a fight with mooks, it lets you just knock one out, Solid Snake style, basically.
And Saboteur. What do you think? Always the red wire or connoisseur Saboteur?
I think I'm leaning towards always the red wire.
Always the red wire allows you to, like, instantly defuse bombs equal to or less than your gadgeteering rating, and...
I think that's more MacGyver.
Yeah.
I think if that's sort of the tone that we're going for, I think that him just being supernaturally good at stopping bombs is very true to that,
yeah, it is.
to the stories that they told.
All right.
In which there was a lot of sweating and looking at a bomb and then just clipping a thing.
All right, so and duct tape from the shadows and always the red wire.
All right. So with that, we are ready to go. I just want to make sure that you note down.
So I decided this character because he's a martial artist And more so because he's MacGyver, he has a code where he'll never use a gun.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I don't even think that was ever a question.
You never know. Have you seen Batman lately?
That's true. Yeah. Ugh. So you start out with 3 refresh, which means you have 3 fate points at the beginning.
Okay.
And then you have 3 stress boxes. You have 3 physical stress boxes, which means that you can take the way. I'll explain how stress boxes work a little bit, and then we'll explain it more if it comes up. Is each box represents a certain number of damage that you can take. When you run out of stress boxes, you're out of a fight. So you have a 1 stress box, a 2 stress box, and a 3 stress box for physical damage.
Okay.
And then you have a 1 stress box and a 2 stress box for mental damage. So what that means is if I deal you 3 damage, you can just mark off that 3 damage box.
Uh-huh.
And then that's it. Like, you don't have to mark off all 3 boxes. The other thing that you have is 3 consequence slots. These are another way for you to take damage. So if I deal you 4 damage, you can only mark off 1 of those stress boxes. So you, in theory, would be out of the fight because you only take up to 3 stress in a box.
Okay.
But with a consequence, you can say, I'm going to mark off that 2 stress box and take a 2-point consequence. That becomes an aspect that represents you getting hurt. So, like, you sprained your ankle. Then what I can do is invoke that for free and make your life difficult. Because now you can't run away from the monster that's chasing you.
Mm.
But you get to stay in the fight for longer.
Okay, that's cool.
For these, you have a mild consequence, which is 2, and goes away like at the end of a scene. A moderate consequence, which is for 4 points, and goes away, I think, at the end of the adventure, and then a severe, which is 6 points, and goes away long, and is like a long-lasting thing that you have to get treated.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Cool. With that, I think we are ready to go.
Probably if I get full consequences, I go into a coma and think I'm back during Camelot days, right? That was one of the MacGyver movies.
Something like that.
One of those weird dream episodes.
Oh, the dream episodes are the best. Okay, so we are ready to go. Are you ready? Are you ready to go? Do you have any other questions before we dive in?
Nope, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. We open on a helicopter. You are in the passenger seat. Let's dive right into some cast creation.
Okay.
Because in front of you is a military official. Which I should ask you, well, we should give your character a name first and foremost. I just realized that we went through this entire process and didn't just...
Names. Psh.
Yeah, right?
Let's stick with the guy. Let's, call him, I need, a name generator thing to help me out. Let's call him...
Dr. Mac.
Dr. Mac. Yeah, people call him Dr. Mac. How about that? I like that.
Alright. Dr. Mac. So, Dr. Mac, there's a military official ahead of you. You're on a helicopter. You've been scooped up. Are you affiliated with the military? Are you a free contractor? Are you here reluctantly, willingly?
Willingly, but I'm more like a contractor.
Okay. Cool. So the military official in front of you, let's call him Sergeant McDade. Let's brainstorm a few different things about him. I will go first and say that he is a military official, he is old and cranky.
Okay.
So what do you think in terms of either, a physical detail, a mental detail, a voice note, a piece of backstory, something, just spitball something about this character.
So, I kind of picture, on top of that old and cranky, let's make him, are you familiar with the actor who played in Avatar as the main bad guy?
Yeah. I think it's Michael Ironside, right?
No, it's not Michael Ironside, I don't think.
No, I do know the guy you're talking about, though. It's not Michael Ironside, but I know the guy you're talking about.
Yep.
Guy from Avatar.
Yep. Let's make it. He looks like that, and so he's pretty. He's an older guy, but he's got some muscles.
Jacked, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think that going with the old and jacked, I think that he's got a pretty notable scar on his face.
Okay, sounds good.
So I think he's seen some shit. All right, now give me one more thing, and then I'm ready to play this character and give you your mission briefing.
Let's say that the scar came about from a magic relic.
Ooh, I like that. So he definitely does not like magic.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So you're on this helicopter. You've been scooped up by Sergeant McDade. So you're a contractor. So let me ask you, just for the opening scene of our movie, what does your day-to-day look like? I'm imagining the helicopter interrupts whatever you're doing to just land in front of you and scoop you up and take you off to who knows where.
I think he makes enough money doing this that he sort of just, he's a wandering traveler kind of thing, but he's got a GPS tracker on him so the government can find him wherever he's at anytime.
Yeah, alright, so I think he's climbing a mountain.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And we get that great shot of him, like, stake in the ground as he walks, and his face is covered up, and a helicopter lands in front of him, and that's when he pulls down the mask, and that's when we see that it's Dr. Mack. And Sergeant McDade is like, get in.
Yeah, I like that.
So now you're flying over a jungle.
Okay.
And McDade, he's shouting, but I'm not going to shout because the microphone is very close to my face right now. He's like, Mac, you know I don't like this magical stuff, but there's an artifact that's fallen into the wrong hands, and god damn it, you're the only one that I trust to get it. But I need to warn you about something. First and foremost, what is the name of your romantic interest?
Let's call her Julie.
Julie. I've got to warn you about something. You're not going to like it, but Julie's here.
What? How?
She was on the job. She was covering it. We told her not to go in, but you know Julie. She's that type of girl. So she's down there somewhere. I'm sorry to put this on you, but they've got the Sword of MacLeod, and if it falls into the wrong hands, God only knows what could happen.
Not the Sword of MacLeod.
Sword of MacLeod.
What do I know about the Sword of MacLeod?
Why don't you make me a knowledge roll?
Now you're going to have to, I know there's like fudge, I don't have fudge dice or fate dice.
Oh, what you can do is what I've been doing is just taking 2 regular 6-sided dice.
Mm-hmm.
It works best if you have 2 different colors, but it's not super necessary. Is you take 2 dice, you roll them, and you subtract one from the other.
Okay.
That's why it helps if you have 2 different colors, so you can designate one as the positive and one as the negative.
Right.
And then you just subtract the negative from the positive, and that should give you a result that is normally, fudge dice they're marked with only a plus, a minus, or a 0.
Mm-hmm.
So with 4 of them, you're getting a range from like -4 to 4 with an average around 0. And then if you just do a d6 minus a d6, it's like it's close enough to that they suggest that that's a viable alternative.
Okay. Unfortunately, I have 1d6 on me right now, of course.
So you can just roll it twice and then take the first result, subtract the second result from the first result.
Okay. So let's do that. So I'm assuming this is knowledge or...
Yeah, make me a knowledge roll.
Okay. So first row is a 4. The
All right.
second row is a 3.
Okay, so you've got a +1 plus your knowledge 2, so that's a 3. So that is just enough to know the important things about the Sword of MacLeod.
Okay.
The Sword of MacLeod is a very rare and valuable... It's kind of like a scimitar that was sort of thought to be lost among, like, the Spanish conquistadors. Despite the fact that it's called Cloud. It's a weird, it's hard to trace the ancestry of these old weapons. But it's like, it was used by Spanish conquistadors.
Okay.
It sort of fills a similar mythological role of, like, an Excalibur.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's supposed to be, like, the sword of the king. To the point where there's some mythologies that say that it has the power to rally people to your army under almost like mythical powers.
Okay.
Someone has found the Sword of MacLeod, and Julie is covering this case and is somewhere in the jungles below.
Now I asked the sergeant, who is they? Who's got her?
It's a paramilitary outfit. They're mostly mercenaries. But we suspect, and this is strictly off the record, because obviously the United States military would never, ever dare to suggest that an American corporation was anything other than 100% legit. Rumors have it that they're tied to Aegis Defense Technologies.
It's always them.
Always.
Do we know anything else? Like how many there are, where they're keeping her? Where's the sword at?
We know that they've got a small encampment, maybe about 2-3 miles from the drop zone, because we can't drop you exactly there, because they'll see us coming. So we'll drop you a few miles. The sword should be with the head mercenary, a guy named Dutch. From our records, our intel suggests that they'll be meeting with some Aegis arm dealers sometime around in about 24 hours. They've scheduled a flight. They are on their way. So you've got 24 hours to get in there, get the sword, avoid getting caught, and this is the moment when he, like, puts his hand on your shoulder. And for God's sakes, man, bring Julie home. We've all lost too many people that we love.
Oh, I will.
So with that, the helicopter goes down. We get a big wide shot of this endless jungle. The kind of endless jungles that only exist on sound stages. And we cut, and you've just landed. You've been like parachuted out.
Cool.
So, so you are in the jungle. You've been given like a rough sort of map of the area on your 1980s like Dick Tracy watch, which is just basically a smartwatch.
I love this technology.
It's cutting edge.
Cutting edge. All right. So
let me ask you actually up front.
Huh?
What's your plan here? Like, and then we'll sort of determine the next roll you're going to make.
I guess. What time of day is this right now?
We'll say it is midday. The sun is high in the sky. It is hot. You are sweating. Like, it is hot. It is sticky. It is gross. There are mosquitoes abound. You've just landed. The ground is wet and swampy.
So what I probably should do is kind of scout out the area around there a little bit, so I can get some intel of how many there are, where they're at, kind of deal. And what I'd probably like to do is wait until nighttime, and then I'm going to use a combination. If I don't get interrupted before then, I'm going to try to use maybe both my little ninja skills plus lure them out in some traps, perhaps. I can like build traps around the area, go from there.
Okay, that sounds great. So first, I'm going to ask, what we're going to do is one of the types of actions in a Fate game is called creating an advantage.
Okay.
What that does is it creates an aspect, just like the ones on your character sheet, that that is just an advantageous thing, that you can then, you get a free invocation of it.
Okay.
So you can invoke it for free to add a bonus to a roll or re-roll or add a narrative element. So I'm going to ask you for an awareness roll.
Okay.
Create an advantage, something related to like knowing the lay of the land.
Okay. Let's see how I do on this. So first dice is 2, and second dice is 1.
Okay. So you got a 3.
Okay.
That is exactly enough to create an advantage. So we'll say lay of the land, and you get a free invocation of that.
Okay.
So now I'm going to ask you for a stealth roll. As you sort of navigate the area and get yourself into a position, as you both navigate your way to the camp quietly and stealthily, and sort of navigate yourself into a position where you can sort of set up some ambushes.
Okay, sounds good. I got +5 on this one, so hopefully I don't roll bad. And I rolled 3.
Okay, so you got a 5. I'm going to roll for them to see what they get. Okay, so we're going to dive right in because they rolled very, very well.
Uh-oh.
So we're going to dive into our first scene, where you are going to face a few mooks.
Okay.
These are the bottom tier guys. So you are like sneaking through the bush and kind of like creeping around, and you like there's a pathway that you're kind of staying off of. And what happens is you see 3 guys in like commando gear, so the big tactical vests with no sleeves.
Okay.
If you just picture the guys from Predator, it's like 3 of those dudes. We're all muscular and oiled up, and one of them is a professional wrestler.
Basically, I'm the Predator, and they are the soldier guys.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, what happens is, let me see, because I think I might... Yeah, so that's the thing, is that you're currently in the shadows, and there are these 3 guys that are basically on you. Like, they're all maybe, like, 10 to 20 feet away.
So I have that from the shadows move, but that's only for one character, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think the way they're moving, would I be able to, like, take out one quietly?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the nature of the stunt, is that the answer to that question, because you have that stunt, the answer is yes.
Okay.
It's a thing where you would have to make a roll unless you took the stunt from the shadows. So yeah, you absolutely. So we get that shot of the three of them, and you hear them talking, and they get reported here in a helicopter in the area, fellas. So and you get we get that great like front on shot where they're walking, and one of them is just gone, and they just don't notice. So what is your next move? If they have not noticed your presence, there are two of them left. One of them is he's got his gun stashed around on his back, like strapped to his back, and he's like picking at his nails with a knife. He's sort of a Weasley guy. And then the other guy looks suspiciously like, let's say, the Ultimate Warrior.
The Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, he's making a transition into acting roles now. Let's. And this is 1980, whatever. This is 1980s, so it's the peak of his career. The guy looks kind of like the Ultimate Warrior.
Okay. Well, I wish I had time to set some traps first.
Well, they haven't noticed you. If you want to make that as a roll and see if you can pull off some traps without them noticing.
That would be nice. Just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So let me try to make some kind of trap.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds great.
Maybe something that will spring out to hit them if they follow me or something like that.
That makes sense. So we will call that that would be a gadgetry roll.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. That's what we'll call it.
Alright, so I got a +5 in that, so let me roll here. Okay, I wrote a 6. I can't remember if that's good or bad. No, I can't remember.
The first result's good.
Okay, good. And a 1, so that's really good.
That's very good, because they rolled a -4.
Woohoo!
And even with their combat skill, that is a 1. So you have succeeded with style.
Woohoo!
What that means is, in fact, I'm just going to make this, what happens now. Okay, yeah, this is going to be just like we did earlier. This is an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Where now you have traps laid.
Okay.
You have 2 free invocations of that to add to rolls, do attacks, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So now I'm going to have them take a move of, like, trying to find you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say that if they fail this, then we'll use one of those invocations to deal them some damage and take them out.
Okay, sounds good. Can I lure them with predator noises?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Is they hear the, and then they're like, "What? What was that?" Yeah. So what I want you to do right now is describe to me how both of these mooks get taken out by traps. Like, describe to me the traps that take out these 2 mooks.
So I make those noises, have some bushes area, so that gets them going over there, like trying to figure out what's going on, the weird noises. And that's when they also notice that they're missing a guy too.
Yep.
And
where's Tank? Where's Tank?
And let's have it to where as they approach, like a big old branch that's been like set to springs and smacks them both like an upper body part.
Okay.
And kind of like whips them around, and they fall into this little ditch pit thing.
Perfect. That is perfect. That is yeah, I love it. That's so good. All right. So the path is clear now. I think there's the path is clear. The last shot that we get before we like pan over to the camp, or before we like wipe over to the camp, is there's this great like shot from the ground up shot of you're standing below you, and the guy's gun that was strapped to his back has fallen, and it's at your feet. So what does your character do?
I'm gonna pick it up and like quickly dismount it, throw it into the bushes.
That's so cool, though. Yeah, that's great. I love it. So we wipe over to the camp.
Okay.
And we get the briefest of shots of Julie, and she's not captured. We see her like peek around a building, and then we see like some guys walk by, and she hides. So I'm gonna say she's not captured, but she's definitely like in their camp and like hiding.
Okay.
That's gonna be how we're gonna bring in the subplot issue. So now you are You've arrived at the camp. There's been no other instances of fights.
Okay.
So what's your plan now that you're here?
Well, let's see what the layout is and how many people I think might be there.
I'm going to say that because you already know the lay of the land, you don't need to roll for this.
Okay.
What I'm going to say is, because you've sort of... You know the lay of the land well enough that I'm going to say that you're able to get some time to study and sort of get a feel for it. From what you've been able to see, there's about, dozen, maybe 15, 20 guys total.
Okay.
All kind of similarly armed to the trio of guys you saw earlier. A lot of, M16s, a lot of, black market military runoff weapons. You can tell where Dutch's tent is.
Okay.
Because it is obviously nicer than everybody else's. He is clearly getting kickbacks from someone and is living a much higher level of comfort than his compatriots.
Okay.
And the one thing you notice is, as you're kind of silently watching people, everyone is very happy, but sort of how to describe it? Kind of fakely happy. You know what I mean?
Oh, like they might be under a spell.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Magic.
Yep, now we're on the same page.
Any clue where the sword might be? Any?
Well, judging, I know McDade told you earlier that the sword was probably with the Dutch. So it's probably, if you had to guess, you'd guess that it's in Dutch's tent.
Okay. I didn't ask if I have any kind of gear on me. Did they give me any stuff?
You have survival gear. I mean,
I have duct tape.
Why don't you make?
I know that.
You've got duct tape. You've got duct tape. Why don't you make me? And this is going to actually. I'm going to invoke something. I'm going to compel something right now.
Okay.
I'm going to compel your. I'm going to compel one of your aspects. I'm going to compel your martial arts scientist thing.
Okay.
To say that because you are this because you were world traveling when they scooped you up, I'm going to offer you a fate point. You can turn me down. You can spend a fate point to turn this down and say that you have survival gear. But I'm going to offer you a fate point to say that you are essentially empty-handed.
Okay.
That is the tricky position that you find yourself in because you were you're this wandering martial arts guy that was scooped up by the military. I'm going to say that you don't have any gear on you.
Okay.
That you're kind of working with your wits.
So it's time to come up with a plan and a montage scene.
Yep.
So in my montage scene, I need to figure out some way of the chemicals of the jungle to create some, one thing's real easy is, you know what? Actually, let's see. What would be good here? I think what would be kind of neat is if I can make like a bow and arrow type scenario where I can put together some kind of little little flash bomb things on the arrows.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. I mean, we don't need to understand the exact science of it, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's almost like when you spark magnesium, how it glows bright and it flashes and it's blinding, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I kind of want something like that, and I want to try to create something like that. And I think what might be also cool. So what I'm thinking about here is when it starts to get dark, I'm thinking about causing a delayed chemical reaction fire in the jungle with some kind of something that would make a loud sound too, so it'll draw them out there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I'll have a trap there for them, whoever goes out there. And while they're out there, I'm going to use my bow and arrow stuff to cause another distraction on one side of the camp, so they can sneak around and try to get over to Dutch.
That makes so much sense. So I'm going to say that this is an attack.
Okay.
That you're making with gadgetry, your gadgetry skill.
Okay.
Against just the general mob. So if you do this, you'll deal damage to you'll just take out the general mob, and we'll move towards the towards the big climax.
Cool.
As you sort of clear the field of these moves.
And I guess before we do that, I didn't see any evidence of Julie, did I?
Why don't you make me an awareness roll?
Okay. So I wrote a 5 and a 3.
So 2, so that's 4. That is... I'm gonna, so that is not enough at the moment to find her, but if you invoke your Lay of the Land aspect, the advantage that you made, if you use that free invocation, you can add 2 to your roll, which will be enough to find Julie.
Yeah, let's do that, because I need to know where she's at.
Okay, yeah, so what happens is... Oh goodness, this is so wonderfully 80s. I'm really excited. What happens is you're, like, sneaking around, and the tense music is playing, and then we cut back, and Julie is, like, snapping photos, and is, like, peeking over walls, and we cut back and forth, and you're both, like, creeping around, and then we cut to, like, a wide shot, and you're both, like, backing up, and then you just back right into each other, and are both, like, and you're, like, shushing each other.
I think she should actually like, snap a shot at me and then like do a still shot of my surprise reaction for that POV.
Yeah, that's... And you know that when you get out of this, that's going to be the cover photo.
Of course.
Like, spoiler alert. But
all right,
so
cool.
now she's right in front of you. If you wanna tell her to do anything or interact with her in any way before you go about making your plan.
So it'll be just like so glad I found you. What are you doing here? Let's start about that. See what she says.
What am I doing here? What are you doing here? I'm here covering the story of my career. Did you know that... And she, like, looks around. Have you heard that they have the Sword of MacLeod?
I do. And, there can only be one of those.
There can only be one of those.
And that's why I'm here, to get the sword back from these mercenaries. This magic sword. She knows about magic, right? So.
Yeah. This is neither of your first rodeos.
Okay.
So yeah. She's like, okay, fine. The fight that we were having is not settled. So here's what we're gonna do. You go your way, I'll go mine, and hopefully we both win. And I get my cover story and you, I don't know, save the world or whatever it is you do when you're not taking time to take me to dinner.
Yeah, I don't think we should do that. It's too dangerous. I tell you what, why don't you help me, and I'll help you. You can take some photos as we go.
I suppose this can be a hero story instead of an expose. Fine.
And
so she's going to tag along with you.
And I promise you a great dinner afterwards. Hopefully,
I'm gonna hold you.
Hopefully not bugs. Hopefully not bugs.
I'm gonna hold you to that. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So yeah. So she's at your back.
Okay. So let's do that montage thing. Now you can also have elements where I'm going, okay, and put this here and there, and she's gonna help me out with some of that stuff.
Yeah. That's exactly what's happening.
Maybe some comical moments where she slips or messes up, and I mess up, and we're like,
she slips, and you have to like grab her to keep her. And at one point, you're about to do something, and she's like, wait. Snaps a picture, and she's like, yeah.
Yep.
And you're both like sniping at each other, and it's like, it's kind of adorable because it's the 80s. It's an 80s like bickering couple. So over Sam and Diane.
Do we both have big 80s hair?
Oh, yeah. Well, so yeah, describe to me the specific brand of 80s hair that your character has.
Let's just go with, well, we can either do MacGyver or we could try to do, what was that? Was it Renegade? You heard that TV show?
Yeah. No, I think that you've got the Lorenzo Lamas Renegade.
Yeah, let's do Lorenzo Lamas.
The real beautifully feathered hair. I think that she's got real crimped. Her hair is real crimped. Mm-hmm. Like she's got that Bonnie Tyler hair. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real 80s.
Okay, great.
God, I love this game. All right. So yeah, make me that gadget roll.
Oh yes.
To take out some of these guys.
Okay. This will work. If not, maybe I might have to pull in one of my aspects here. All right.
The number you want to beat is a 5, so you really have to just get at least 1 to like do some damage.
Okay, so I wrote a 5 first, and then I wrote a 6 second.
Okay, so you've got a -1, so you ended at a 4. So if anything, any of your aspects that you can claim to help you in this situation, you currently have 4 fate points.
Yeah, let's...
As well as you also have an invocation of the traps that you've already sort of laid in the area. Mm-hmm. So you can invoke up to 5 things.
Yeah.
Depending on how much damage you want to do.
How much would you suggest? How much would get these guys?
We'll say these guys have 3 stress boxes, but I'm also using them for the boss. So I'm gonna say, if you do invoke 2 things, if you can point to 2 of your aspects that'll help you, then that'll take them out.
So I think the lay of the land combined with the action scientist part.
Okay. Yeah. So, I think that's perfect. Yeah, I think that what happens is it's exactly like you described. Like you fire out, like the chemical fire draws them in. You flashbang them with your bow and arrow that you've patchworked together. And then the other half of it is like they're like scattered around, and you're kind of dropping out of trees and like giving them knockout punches.
That sounds good.
And Julie's snapping the whole thing, and she's got stars in her eyes, and she's remembering why you two are together.
There should be one where somebody's coming around the corner, or I guess the tree or something, and she uses her flash on her camera to blind them, and then I take them out.
Yep. Because your back is turned, and there's a dude with a knife, and she does. That's exactly what happens. Yeah. Okay. So now all these mooks are mostly all taken out.
Okay.
They're kind of scattering. They're freaking out. They're running around. They don't know what's going on. Okay. So Dutch's tent is wide open.
All right. Let's sneak towards it.
You move. The 2 of you move silently, and you're finally working as like a well-oiled machine of a team. When what happens, and this is going to be the big final climactic thing. Okay. And I'm going to compel another one of your aspects.
Okay.
So give you a fifth fate point. And you can one thing to point out is if you do not want this to happen, you can spend a fate point to veto it, and we can change up the we're going to go to the big climax, but if you want a different climax, you can spend a fate point to veto.
Okay.
But I don't think you're going to want to, because I think this is a pretty good one.
Okay.
You open up the tent, like you pull the sleeve of the tent, you pull the door. You see it in a display case. You see the sword, and it's this beautiful, like, gem-encrusted scimitar. Mm-hmm. When from behind you, you hear a twig snap, and you go to, like, chide Julie for making noise. And behind you is the very man that killed your sensei.
No.
And took over your clan.
No. Is this guy going by the name Dutch?
Yeah, you know what? Yes, that's even better than what I had in mind. I did not put those 2 things together, but yeah. He's a guy much like you in that sense. And we're gonna do the brainstorming thing like we did with Sergeant McDade earlier.
Okay.
Where we lay out the details of this villain, and I think that's the perfect first one, is, that Dutch is also like an outsider. Is also like a world-traveling guy like you. So you get that. So even if we don't say it during the encounter, there's that beautiful element of like we're not so different, you and I. So why don't you tell me something about like what you think Dutch looks like, or maybe what his like fighting style is, or something like that. Give me a detail about Dutch as a villain.
Okay, let's why don't we, if we were going to cast him, if you will, let's cast him as gosh darn it, Mark Damascus, is that his name? The guy who played the Crow in the TV show. And
okay, yeah, the TV Crow.
Yeah, and he's also on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now and all that jazz. He's a good martial arts actor, and and let's make his fighting style a little more, you know what capoeira is like? Yeah, I do, yeah. Make it a little like ninjutsu meets capoeira kind of thing, so you do some cool acrobatic stuff.
Yeah, okay, so you meet him, and the last thing I'm going to say is that he goes by Dutch now. That's his, like, civilian name. Mm-hmm. But you know him as merely the Man in Red.
I hope he's wearing red.
Because he wore... He's wearing a red bandana.
Okay.
And he's got, I think right... Yes, okay, so here's exactly what happens with the intro of this big fight.
Okay.
He steps out. He's wearing the same kind of, like, military vest as the other guys. He steps out, like, you hear the twig snap, you turn around, and he's just looking at you, and he's like, "It's been a while. How are you? Expecting someone else?" And he throws his vest aside, and he puts on the very red gi that you saw him in when he killed your sensei.
You bastard. I mean, like, you're Dutch?
That's right. That's my name, after all. You never asked it. You sort of just ran off, after I killed your boss. And he's like, "But, I got kind of tired of running your dojo." As he's, like, tying off his belt. "So I kind of got out of it. Shut the whole thing down."
What?
"Now then, I believe you and I have business." And he points at Julie. "You're going to want to take some photos. The great Dr. Mac's death at the hands of the man they call Dutch."
Da-da-da.
Yep. Yep.
It's gonna get interesting. So, really wish I took more fight.
Well, I mean, that's... If you can fight him directly, you can use other tactics. Right now, you are, like, up to face with him. It's your call. I mean, I think what we're going to do... Let me grab some studs for him real quick. But I think what we're going to do is make a roll-off and just have, like, a proper fight that way.
Okay. Do I see anything in the environment that I could use, either as a weapon or obstacle or something to trip him up?
I'm going to say on your turn, if there's something that you have in mind, it'll be there.
Okay.
Especially if you spend a fate point to say that it's there, and then use that to get a bonus in an action. So, for instance, if you were to spend a fate point to say, like, there's a barrel of gasoline that they're using for their Jeep, and I want to blow it up, you could add +2 to whatever attack you wanted to make, and just say that's there.
Okay.
That's one of the things about Fate, is it's very into, like, if you want to do a cool thing, the stuff that you need to do that cool thing is available to you.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, okay. I'm ready to go. So, describe to me what your first move is, because I think that his first move is to start, like, doing the, like, capoeira sweeps as he, like, gets ready to come at you. Actually, I'm going to say his first move is just, like, trash-talking you as he gets ready to start fighting. So what's your first move? Choose one of your skills that suits, like, what your first plan is, and we'll roll off.
Well, I think it might be kind of cool if I can do it, because we're right by his tent, right?
Yeah.
If there happens to be, like, say, there's a lighter or one place, and maybe something spray canish, or it could be more elaborate than that if you want. If somehow, if I can maneuver when we're fighting, that I can, like, maneuver my way around to grabbing those items until I can eventually use them. Like, in such a way where he doesn't know what I'm doing necessarily. We're just fighting.
Yeah. What I'm going to call that is, we'll call that stealth, as you're sort of, like, just moving slowly and trying to, like, mask your movements.
Okay.
So roll your stealth. You want to beat a 4 to, like, go faster than him to, like, move before he gets his chance to start fighting.
Okay. Let's roll it then. Got a 4 and a 6. That might not work.
So you got a 3. So if you invoke one of your if you use one of your fate points, and you have 5 of them.
Yeah, this is the final battle, so I should. I guess it could be it's going to have to be the Kung Fu Action Scientist.
Okay, so yeah,
unless you want to use my hate in the blood feud.
I think either one of those works.
Let's invoke the blood feud.
Okay, yeah. So I think the way that gets invoked is that, like, you're having this intense stare down, and you start, I guess, egging him on a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's like I don't know if you've ever seen The Incredibles, but when they talk about, like, monologuing.
Oh yeah.
And you get him to start monologuing just enough that you can grab, because he's obviously got some hairspray in his tent, because it's the 1980s.
Oh, of course.
So he's got some hairspray and a comb, or he's got some hairspray, and you've got a lighter on you, or he's got a lighter because he's got cigarettes, because he's a bad guy in the 80s, and smoking is wrong.
It is. It'll kill you.
Nancy Reagan, just say no. This entire film was sponsored by Nancy Reagan. That's in case you were wondering how this movie got made.
I thought so. It's going to be in the credits.
So, yeah. So you grab the lighter that's by those cigarettes, and you grab the hairspray. You can go ahead and make an attack. Now on your turn, you can make an attack.
Okay.
Using your gadgetry.
Gadgetry?
Which I assume is where you were headed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's going to try to block it. He's going to try to, In fact, I'm going to... Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, first row, oh man, it's a 1. Second is a 3. Good.
Okay, so you got a -2.
Mm-hmm.
This is another situation. You can tie him on a 0, because I felt an aspect for him to say that he was so cocky and arrogant that he didn't get to use his cool combat stat, and he had to just roll off of a 0, and he rolled a 0. So if you can tie him by spending 1 aspect, or beat him and deal him damage by invoking 2 or more. And you've got 4, and you still have those traps. If you can push him into some traps.
Okay. So yeah, let's try to push him into one of the traps then.
Okay, so now you've tied him at 0. So what that means is you can spend 1 more to deal him damage, or you can... Oh wait, actually, hold on. I think you actually are. I think that's exactly what you needed to deal damage, because I think...
Well, in gadgetry I had a +5, so...
+5 plus your... Oh yeah, wait. Yeah, I'm sorry, we forgot to add your gadgetry roll, plus your bonus for using and duct tape, because you described 3 mundane objects.
Huh?
So you're at a 5 now, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so you actually don't... You can say that he, dodges fire and runs into a trap if you want, but as is, you've already dealt him 5 damage.
Okay, let's just do that.
Okay, yeah, so he's going to knock off a 3 stress box, and I'm going to say he's going to take a mild consequence, which means he absorbs 2 damage, but there's now an aspect in play of burned hair.
Not my hair.
Yeah, he's like, my beautiful hair! Come on, man! I spent hours getting this to look like the guy from The Karate Kid. You know, the good guy, Johnny. So now you have a free invocation of that aspect as well.
Okay. Of his burn hair?
Yeah, if you can find a way to use that to your advantage in some way.
I can, how did he kill my master? Or my sensei, I mean.
I don't know, do you have any ideas?
How would he kill my sensei?
Because I have an idea, but if you have something in mind...
No, what's your idea?
Okay. My idea was that, because it's a martial arts movie, so it's gotta be a duel.
Mm-hmm.
He challenged him to a duel for control of the dojo. And the big thing is that he cheated. He raked the face or something, and then went for the kill strike. And then, he won the fight, because it wasn't a duel to the death. He won the fight, and then killed him. Snapped his neck on the ground. So he both cheated to win and then dishonored him by taking the fight beyond the place of honor.
Okay. What else is in this tent?
It's, like I said, it's a very nice living tent. So there's the sword is on essentially a display case is in the middle of the tent. There's a very, very nice air mattress. Because it's still a tent, but it's a really nice one. So there's a nice, expensive looking air mattress. There's one of those big Hollywood style vanity mirrors with the lights on the side, with all sorts of beauty supplies, because he's a very vain man. Various weapons are scattered around, magazines, bottles of alcohol, just lifestyle stuff. If there's something specific that you want for a cool stunt, let me know and it'll be there.
So, what would be interesting, I was wondering if maybe I could flip backwards, grab the sword, and then maneuver by the mirror and kind of mock him of his hair to get him the right angle, basically, to get up to me. so that he sees reflection of sorts. And then there's a lot of and-thens. But if somehow, because, Julie and I know each other so well, and we've been working together so well at this point, that she gets a clue of what I'm trying to do, and she uses her flash of her camera into the mirror to distract, blind him for a minute.
Okay, yeah. So that's how the fight's gonna go. If you can do all of that, then you can get in to take him out.
Okay.
Succeeding at all those things will succeed at taking him out. If he stops you at any point, he'll make an attack on you. That's how we're gonna rule.
Okay, sounds good.
So first thing I want you to do is make me an athletics roll that he is going to oppose.
Okay. So we got a 3 and a 4. Hopefully he rolled really bad.
He rolled pretty well.
Okay.
So we're gonna say that he's gonna make an attack on you as you flip back to grab the sword.
Okay.
So he's going to make an attack on you. Defend. So describe an action. Describe how you defend against an attack, and then roll that skill check against the 6.
What's he doing to me?
He is doing capoeira, so he's doing spin kicks and things, and he's really he's just you know what he's doing?
What's that?
Because you got him mad, he's not doing capoeira. He's just running at you and just throwing haymakers. He's just a bull in a china shop at this point, just rampaging. Because you messed up his beautiful hair.
Aw. I'm going to try to sweep a kick to kind of like a crescent kick almost to block some of his punches, and kind of also help me push off of him a little bit to get me some more distance from him towards the sword.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so what's that going to be like? Is that fight?
That's going to be fight.
Okay. So I wrote a 6 and what is this? A 1 or a 4? A 1.
Okay. That's that is enough to successfully defend him. You block off his attacks, you catch him off guard, you you throw a back elbow, you shatter the thing, and now the sword of McLeod is in your hand.
It can only be one.
Queen is just blaring in the background.
So I want to maneuver, if I'm not already, towards that mirror, so the mirror's angling towards him.
Okay. So make athletics or stealth, depending on how you're moving.
It's going to be sneakish, so he doesn't know
Okay, yeah. So we'll call that stealth.
Alrighty. 3
He's got a 5.
and a 1. So that's 2 plus my plus 5 stealth.
So that's 7. That is enough to get to the mirror.
Okay, great. And
so now you can make an attack, and you can use his burned hair as well as the sword.
Yep.
To see if you can deal him some real damage.
So I'm gonna mock his hair to get him over there, and hopefully, this whole time I've been trying to signals to Julie. The telepathic looks, if you will, like in movies.
Yeah. And you guys are, like I said, you found that 80s couple magic. You're ready.
Alrighty. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And what do I need to? And whatever.
We'll call this. So wait, I want to make sure. So Julie's gonna flash him, right?
Yeah. So the goal is that I've maneuvered with the sword, so where the mirror's off to my side, but pointing him, and I'm gonna mock him. His hair, that's both to distract him, so he's rushing without thinking, and also when she flashes, that's gonna blind him, so it's gonna be like double disadvantage to him, so I can slash.
Yeah, okay.
And it'll be like, for my sensei.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm gonna say that's gonna be a provoke roll, which is a +0, but I'm gonna give you a +2 on it for free, and say that it's essentially an invocation of Julie as a character. So I'm going to say roll off of a +2, and I'll see if he can figure out what you're doing and possibly stop it.
Okay. So that's a 5 and a 2.
So that's a 5. He rolled a 3, so you deal him 4 damage because you invoked the burned hair.
Okay.
So, alright, yeah. He's going to still be in the fight, but he's going to take a moderate consequence. If he takes anything else at this point, he's going to go down. So I'm going to say he is blinded. You get a free invocation of that.
Okay.
So this is the big final. What's your final move here? What's the killing blow? So to speak. I don't know if you plan on killing this man.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't.
That's gonna be your decision to make when the time comes.
I struggle with it every day. So let's see here. What would be a good final? Because I don't think he would just outright kill him, because it's a little dark.
Actually, I have a suggestion.
Sure.
So you have the sword in your hand, and you feel like in that moment, as you're like being like, I should kill him, you feel the power, and in an instant, you are standing before 1,000, like you're whisked away to another time and place, and you're standing between 1,000 strong army as you like wave the sword in your hand, and they like pledge fealty to you, and suddenly you are like leading a cavalry charge 100 years later, and the sword is in your hand, and you're just flashed to all these points where an army is at your command, and you feel the power of this sword in your hand.
So I could use it to call forth this.
You can use its magical powers to do question mark. Who knows?
But we still got some mercenaries, right? So I could call forth them to help me finish him.
Yes, that is exactly what you can do with the sword.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, make me a knowledge roll, then, is what we'll call that.
Okay.
As you sort of, we'll call that knowledge, as it's sort of a magical thing.
Okay. And maybe I'll invoke Relic Hunter if I need to here.
Yeah, you've certainly got the aspects to spare. Or the fate points to spare.
Yeah, might as well.
I think you have 3 at this point.
Oh man, I'm going to need 2, because I just wrote a 1. And I wrote another 1, so at least they cancel each other out.
So you got a 2, you need a 5 if you spend 2 of your 3 fate points and invoke 2 aspects.
Let's do it.
And one of the aspects can be just the sword.
Okay.
So you want to invoke...
Relic Hunter and the sword?
Yeah. Yeah, you know just the right thing to say, because this is what you do. And the big moment is Julia's watching this as you like channel the power of the sword, and like mercenaries come from all sides, and you just point at them and they hold him like they tackle him and they hold him down, and your eyes are like glowing white, and she's just like, I always thought he was exaggerating. And she's like snapping photos.
And then I'm going to do the like tension, like flashes of him murdering my teacher, and I'm tempted to slash down and kill him, and then last minute I will thump him with the hilt of the sword, knock him out.
And he gets knocked out. Yeah. So you hit him. As you hit him with the hilt of the sword, there's a flash, and we get like the swirling newspaper.
Okay.
And despite the fact that Julie got much better photos, it is 1000% the like awkward, embarrassed one when she like didn't realize she was snapping her picture.
Of course.
And it's like huge arms deal exposed. Huge arms deal exposed, like the daring tale of one action scientist saving the world. So we cut to the last thing is. It's like a black tie gala, and you're being celebrated. There's a black tie gala. You're in a tuxedo. Julie is in a beautiful dress, but she still has the camera because she's still working, because she's always working.
Oh, yeah. She's got her pager with her,
and big 80s pager. It's amazing. Yeah, so she's doing all of this, and there's this big gala, and the last thing that we see is. There's a song, and you're dancing, and you like whisk her into your arms, and you go in to give her a kiss. At which point you just hear from the other room, "Get out, Mac! It's McDade. We've got work to do." And you both look at the camera, and you're like, "No, here we go again." Freeze frame and credits roll, and that is game.
Cool. That's fun.
That was super fun. I like that.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play Fate, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I like Fate a lot. It's maybe my favorite, all-around favorite game. of all the games, and I really like Shadow of the Century. I think it's a great little setting I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think so too. I didn't even really play Spirit of the Century either, but it was cool learning more about that too.
Yeah, it's neat. So, real quick, because this is a playtest, I wanted to get it on camera. I just wanted to ask you, point blank, especially as somebody that hasn't played a Fate game before, in particular, and if the answer, and, nothing is an acceptable answer, is there anything that particularly worked, or that you particularly struggled with through the pitch session to character creation to playing the game itself?
I think the character creation was pretty easy overall. I think I felt like it was just a few steps to follow.
Yeah, I thought it went pretty seamlessly, considering that we basically did it from scratch.
Yeah. And I think, the only thing, and I know that's always a thing with Fate, once you have to learn, is the aspects, just to understand the power of it. But no, I mean, I liked how it went overall. I thought it went well. It was a pretty simple game overall. So
yeah, I liked it, and I liked all the setting stuff. I think there's a lot of really great. I like the roles a lot. I think that's a great way to get a lot of character filled in really quickly. I haven't seen it in a Fate game before, but the Faces thing, the collaborative character building stuff that we did with NPCs. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that in a Fate. It may be in there, but I haven't seen it before, and I really like that.
Yeah, I really like that too. I think it helps you. It helps you build the world and have the players be involved in it too. So it's not just. Yeah. I think that's neat.
Awesome. Well, Marx, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, you're very welcome. It was a lot of fun.
Real quick, why don't you run down where people can find you online and find your work?
Sure. So I have a website. It's marxpyle.com, MARXPYLE. Also, you can find Genretainment at sci-fi-pulse-radio.com, which is part of sci-fi-pulse.net. And then my books on Amazon and all the normal bookstores.
Cool. Well, like I said, thank you so much for coming on Party of One. This was a blast. And I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show.
Right.
Take it, Future Me.
Thanks, Fast Me. And thanks again to Marx for coming on to the show. That was awesome. I feel like we nailed that 80s action movie tone the Shadows of the Century is going for. Be sure to check out Marx's work at marxpile.com and follow him on Twitter at Mr. Marx. Then while you're on Twitter, you can follow this show at Party of One Pod. Then hop over to Facebook and like the show at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast. And if you really loved the show, consider telling a friend. iTunes reviews, social media shoutouts, and word-of-mouth recommendations help the show achieve bigger, better, and cooler things, and really do mean the world to me. Party of One is produced by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. This episode edited by Jeff Stormer. All the music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers. Until next time, party people, thanks for listening, and remember, you don't need money. Don't take fame. You don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong, and it's sudden, and it can be cruel sometimes. But it might just save your life. That's the power of love, my friends.